Hi guys, welcome back to Molcons. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today we are discussing PMQs and the spending review. We've got so much to talk about, and we've got a special guest joining us a little bit later as well.
We do. He's back.
He is. Oh,
But-
PB.
PB. But shall we start with the old spending review and PMQs and all of that?
I
good
mean,
stuff?
yeah. Should we do it in order? Start with PMQ because that
Okay.
was first.
That was first. So it was Kemi v. Keir.
Yes,
KK.
yes. As in always.
As always,
the
yeah.
Wednesday treat. It's a Wednesday jewel.
Yes. And as Kemi said to Keir, I'm getting better, you're getting worse.
Ooh,
Which
I
is
mean,
really funny.
burn. But I'm not sure. I mean, in a way, it's interesting that she acknowledges that she's getting better. I mean, good. I'm glad she's getting. I've been saying that for ages, haven't I? But like, I just want her to just be a bit.
Yeah.
And she's getting there, so that's good. But what was his response? You practice at home?
Oh yeah, you
Sally?"
practice in the mirror. Oh, I'm glad to hear you're practicing your speeches.
Yeah.
Um,
Well practiced this morning.
Yeah, you have well practice this morning.
Something like that. Oh no.
And it's just very silly, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the things though, he was talking about all of his deals and his interest rates cuts and how everything's so great, and we're all just like
Yeah.
oblivious to the
Yeah.
fact that life is amazing.
I mean, yeah.
She kept talking about national insurance rise and then the fact that unemployment's going up
Yes.
and growth is going down.
Yes.
Um,
All fact.
All facts.
Proven fact.
Yeah. And he says, I don't know why you keep carving on about national insurance. And it's like, I'm sorry, why do you not think it's important?
It's in the national interest.
Yeah.
The word, the clues in the title,
Yeah.
national insurance. We all have like that in our lives.
Yeah.
So it's relevant to us.
It's relevant. It's also really important because it's a manifesto pledge you've already broken.
Yes.
And you don't want to talk about it. So that makes sense why you don't want to talk
Yeah.
about it. But also it's the reason that people are sacking people, the reason they're not hiring anyone. It's the reason that unemployment is going up and it's gone up again this week to 4.6%.
Ouch. Yeah. Oh,
Not since 2021 has it been that high.
Yeah.
No wonder he doesn't want to talk about
of
it.
course, of course. And so by her harping on,
Yeah.
so to speak, it just sort of highlights the fact that he's lacking and he just wants the buzzwords that are
Yeah.
in his favor,
Yeah.
right? And so when he's like, well, I've done this deal, I've
Yeah.
done that. Yeah. Okay, cool. You may have done this deal, but what's the detail of that deal?
Yeah.
Because I need to know, because every other deal you've made has lost
Losing
to
up
the
money.
UK. So like, what are you talking about? And
Yeah.
then, yeah, so all these facts and figures that he just wants to
Brush over.
brush under the
Yeah,
carpet
yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
It's really annoying. So
It
yeah,
is.
I'm glad that she keeps gunning for him
Yeah.
because he needs to be held accountable,
Yeah.
and that's her job.
That
So,
is her job.
Yeah.
And he tried to bring up Liz Truss again, and Kemi
Yeah.
just wasn't having it. She said he likes to bring up Liz Truss because it distracts from his
Yes.
terrible record,
Yeah.
which is when he started banging on about his
Yeah.
great trade deals.
Yeah.
But it's true. I think everyone can see through it now.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's
I
a bit
hope-
cringe.
I hope they can, because I'm ever conscious that all these sound bites get played
Yeah.
and played, and so people just hear that and take that as
Yeah.
that's it, that's
Yeah.
the whole conversation. And
That's
that
true.
is just so annoying. It's frustrating because it's really not.
No. And I also think, I swear Liz Truss sent him a cease and desist.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Ooh.
isn't it verging on like abuse, the amount that harassment, the amount they talk about her? And
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, it's quite mean.
Yeah, it is mean. I mean, she did her thing. They had the whole letters, 45 days or whatever.
She's
done.
not there to defend herself.
Yeah, it's
either.
out.
So it's
It's
kind
out.
of, it's just a bit, I don't know, it's just a bit embarrassing.
Foul play.
Foul play here, here.
But
So that was pretty much most of PMQs.
yeah, I mean, there were obviously other questions, but we like to just keep it to the two.
Yeah,
two
we
main.
did have one about disability allowance
Yeah.
from a Labour MP who's very pro
Yes.
benefits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a good point he made about, this isn't what we do, blah, blah, blah. Is
Yeah.
he going to do anything about the fact that he's cutting this?
Yeah.
And all of the Labour MPs were just silent. They'd be really rowdy before, but they were
Yeah.
just really quiet and really, really depressed.
They were like,
And he kind of just glossed over that.
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. But that's what he does. Gloss is over. If he doesn't want to answer it,
Yeah.
he just sort of,
Deflects.
yeah, which is very annoying.
Liz Truss,
Yeah.
14 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
22 million black
I know. At what point are they going to get like pulled up and not allowed to say that anymore?
I
'Cause
think a
it's-
year, surely after a year.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever stop, to be
No,
honest.
I don't think they will, because they think it works. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it works. People buy into it now because they keep saying it. They
Yeah.
think the more you say it, the more true it becomes.
True.
And it doesn't. It's
It
not.
does not.
Doesn't make it more true.
It's
So
true.
it's very annoying.
It's not true.
It's not true.
Okay, so main event, shall we?
Review with Rachel Reeves. My goodness,
With
does she
Reeves.
like to spend money? I I like to spend money, but boy,
Wow, I know she can
she's a
splash the
spender.
cash.
Yeah, she
All
went on a
rage.
shopping spree. I don't know where she found this
Well, she
money.
did used to go spend a lot on her expenses at her company. I think there was like a complaint
Practice.
because she like is buying all this designer
Oh
stuff
my
on her
God.
company credit card.
Well,
So we do know she likes to spend.
so she's obviously got a shopping habit.
She
She's
does.
got a
She's
bad
got form.
a shopping habit. Well, I mean, let's give some figures
Let's
because
do it.
this is unreal to me. So the big winners so far, I think, were defence and NHS,
Yes.
and also transport around the
Lots of
UK.
transport, yeah.
Lots of
But
transport.
mainly up, well, to be fair, there was an east to west, but
Mm,
the south definitely got left out of this whole
yeah,
spending review. It was
yeah,
kind of just kicked to the curb.
yeah.
And they're making a big play for the north. Obviously,
Yes,
that's like a reform tactic.
yes,
2019, Brexit, blue wall, red wall
yeah, yeah,
type of,
yeah. They want to.
constituent they're going for, voter they're going for.
Exactly. They want to, say we know about the North.
Yeah.
We are
We
friends
are
of
the
yours.
north.
So therefore,
Here's
this is
some
why you're
money.
getting some money. Yeah. I mean, do they buy into it? I don't know.
No, do people really take it on board? Do they care? Is it going to make a difference really to
Not
their
sure.
reform challenge? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, but yeah, they mentioned stuff like West Midlands, Liverpool,
Yeah,
Manchester, lots of money going in. So like 15 billion for new rail, trams, and buses in
yeah,
the North and the West Midlands,
mm,
and then also they were sort of talking about Liverpool, new rails between Liverpool and Manchester,
yeah,
and all sorts of stuff, money for TfL as well, and then capping our
yeah.
bus fares for £3 until 2027.
Which has actually been increased because under the Conservatives it was
It
£2.
was £2.
And they put it up to £3. Which, if you take buses in the countryside, which I do,
Yes.
it's quite pricey going
Yeah.
one way. It's £3 each way.
That is
And also, if
crazy.
you have a dog, in some places you have to pay an extra £1 for the dog.
Stop it.
I'm not lying.
That is criminal. Actually, wow.
It costs a fortune to take the bus in the countryside.
Wild. I never knew that. But yeah, so they're making their money in the sort of in the transport
Yes,
sector.
yes.
So let's see,
Which
let's
is
see.
good. None of it's going to be felt now, though.
No.
So
Yeah, go
that's
on.
a challenge.
Yeah, I was also I can't help but think H2O or whatever it is.
HS2.
HS2, that's it. Can't even say it. HS2, like where is that money going to?
Yeah.
Is it going to be spent wisely?
Well, a lot of that money that was going to go into HS2, which is why Rishi cancelled it,
Yeah.
was already being redistributed to the north, which
Yes.
Rishi did.
Yes.
And then when she came in, she cancelled it and then just reinstated it in the spending
Yeah.
review.
So the spending review has a few things that sort of mirror what the Conservatives were doing previously.
Yeah.
And then she's just sort of hashed it out again, which I mean, if it's something that worked, then you should do that. But it's weird that she's sort of saying it's all my new idea.
Yeah, pretending.
And her thing is like, this is my thing. This is the Labour's thing. This
Yeah.
is for the people.
She said
Like,
Labour choices, my choices, Labour choices, over and over and over again.
yeah, like that was her thing. So that was kind of annoying.
And also she said renewal a lot. Did you notice
did,
that? I think
she
she's
did.
trying to take Kemi's slogan.
She did indeed. Okay, the NHS.
Yes.
Obviously, we know the NHS needs a bit of reform, and it's kind of going through the mill. People are finding it hard to get appointments or get operations or whatever it is they need because supply and demand is not there, and there's too many sort of management people and not enough actual,
Yeah.
doctors
There's
and
like-
nurses.
Yeah. It's
So
top heavy.
yeah, it is. That's the word, top heavy. So he's got 29 billion day-to-day spending. That's a 3% rise
Yeah.
until the next election.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool. Do we have the detail?
Do we have the detail and do we have the reforms? Like, what have they actually done since coming in? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, Wes Streeting said he was going to reform
Yeah.
before adding any more spending to the
Yeah.
NHS, and he hasn't
Yeah.
done that. What have they done apart from get rid of NHS England? What have they done
Yeah.
to change anything? I'd love to know. I don't think
Yeah,
anyone knows.
I know.
But nobody's asking the question.
No, I would really like a sort of a real transparency about it.
Yeah.
So we can say, okay, so we've done this because it's this, and then the money can go to this. So, that's what we need.
Yeah.
And I think any political party that can do that and actually have the figures and you back it up, they're going to be the winners.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you're working with. If you can say, this is where the money's coming from, this is what is being spent on, and this is how it's going to help you.
Yeah.
no one cares other than that.
Mm.
That's it. They just want the detail. They want to know what's going on. Otherwise, it's just all air.
Yeah. Well, she did try and say, oh, she tried to do her own Doge and said, look, we're going to
Yeah,
be cutting and we're going line by line, she
yeah,
said.
yeah,
And she said the things that she was saving on were selling off buildings and land, so
yeah,
assets, no more consultants, which was
yeah,
really good.
yeah,
But she didn't actually talk about permanent staff or how they're
yeah.
rethinking permanent staff or Quangos at all. She didn't
Exactly.
mention either of those things, which is really where the bulk of the money
Exactly.
is.
But that's, I reckon when you don't mention it, it's because you don't want to mention it, right? That's the beauty of making a speech. You only talk about what you want to talk
Yeah,
about.
the highlights.
The highlights, not the low points. But okay, what else? An interesting one is defense because
Yeah.
everyone's talking about defense right now. It's like a big kind of concern for everyone that we've been lacking, so
Yeah.
to speak. And so we got to ramp up that GDP
Yeah.
to 3%.
Yeah.
So she's making a good effort. She said it's going to rise from 2.3 of GDP to 2.6 in 2027 by 2027. So that's like 11 billion
Yeah.
extra in the coffers.
Yeah.
That's a lot with 600 million actually for security and
Yeah.
intelligence. So
That's good. They did already commit to increasing it from 2.3 to
yeah,
2.5% already.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
already know that, like we've said before, a lot of it's going on Chagos. So,
yeah,
like, I do like the idea behind
yeah,
what they're saying,
yeah.
but like, in reality, is that what's actually going to happen?
Exactly. I don't know. I did also like they mentioned steel and
Yeah.
you bringing back British steel
Yes.
and working with British companies including Rolls-Royce
Yes.
for
Small modular reactors and stuff. Yeah.
exactly. So I like the theory of that, and
Yeah.
I think we do need to be a productive company, and we
Absolutely.
do need to be self-sufficient as well, and we do need
Yeah.
to be able to make things because that's what we're great at,
Yeah.
not just tech, although tech is good
We
too.
are good at that.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, so money in both of those
Yeah.
is good.
Small modular reactors, the only reason I know about them is because Conservatives banged on about them for ages and actually invested a lot in them.
Yeah,
So, like you said before, it's kind of a continuation of things that we've
yeah,
already invested in, already paid attention
yeah,
to, already kind of earmarked as things that need to be
yeah,
invested in.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
thank you for being more conservative.
Well done, Rachel Reeves,
Good stuff.
for seeing the light.
One thing she did say that really was funny
Yes.
because she made, like we said before, she made this big thing about these are my choice, because I wrote recently in one of my articles, like, to govern is to choose, and it's something that people always say, like,
Yeah.
you have to own your choices, which
Yeah.
she hasn't done for a long time. She keeps blaming black holes and
Yeah.
previous governments
Yeah.
and whatever. She was really owning her stuff. Like,
Yeah.
she did keep blaming everyone, but she did say these are my choices, these are
Yeah.
Labour choices. So
This is what the people.
this is what the people voted for.
Yeah.
And two of the things that were really interesting was, firstly, she made a big play about how she joined the Labour Party because she knew that Conservatives didn't care about her school.
Oh
I
no.
just thought, okay, how did you know that at the age of like 9? Okay, that's weird. Second of all, she said, and that's why I decided to put VAT on private schools. So she's completely admitting
Yeah.
in the House that this was a political move.
Yeah.
It was a spiteful move.
Yeah.
And she's shameless.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe my ears when
Yeah.
she actually owned up to that was the reason, because when she was 8, she felt like the Conservatives didn't
Yeah.
care about her school, which was probably not true and definitely
Ridiculous.
not true.
Yeah.
But that was really the motivating factor why so many kids are being ripped out of their independent
Yeah.
schools.
Yeah.
And putting more pressure on the state sector.
Crazy.
Mind blowing.
I know. The revelations you get.
I love revelations. And the other thing that she said, Martin, please. And the other thing that she said, obviously, she's increasing departmental spending by 2.3% a year, comparing it to the Conservative austerity.
Yes.
And she said that in 2010, which is going back a very long
Very
way,
long
way back.
Did you
That
just take your watch?
I did my invisible watch.
I do that too.
The Conservatives cut spending by 2.9% in the austerity years. And one thing she failed to say is that we were actually trying to clean up the mess that they left us. No money.
Yes.
And
No
a
money in the
recession.
pot.
No money in the bank. And a recession. And so it's really weird that she used that
Yeah.
as her kind of point,
Yeah.
because you're kind of reminding everyone how bad you were
It
at money
was.
the last time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in a way, that's probably a good thing. But
Yeah,
most
we're
people
grateful.
most people won't won't think about that though. This is what is kind of they're banking on, that the public just don't think back that, and they're like, oh, they don't, because
And a
most
lot of
people
people were
don't.
like 5.
Yeah, a lot of people were 5. A lot of people not interested in politics, and a lot of people, just take it as
What they
gospel,
hear,
and that's so frustrating, because there's always a backstory, or an element of truth with a whole other reason behind it.
True.
So anyway, what else was there? Anything else really sort of like?
So she said that she talked about fiscal rules, and Mel Stride referred to them, but she said my first fiscal rule was that day-to-day government spending would be paid for through tax receipts, and so that our children and the next generations wouldn't have to pay for the services we rely on today. But she failed to mention the debt and the debt interest that she's leaving for the future generations and the children of today. How is she thinking of even starting to pay that back? She doesn't, it's not even on her radar.
No.
She's just spend.
Yeah, it's really disturbing, because we're already in debt.
I know. No one seems to realize.
Like, we're not like flush. We're not an oligarch state, just saying. We are in debt as a country. And so every penny counts. And where does that money come from? It comes from us, the payers, the taxpayers, the business owners, the people that pour money into our into our society. And so we are the ones that have to foot this bill. And having such debt that is mounting each year, and then they're giving away assets, and more debt is mounting. It's absolutely insane. It really just drives me nuts.
Apparently they're going to give away Gibraltar next. It's
Stop
literally
it.
coming up.
I can't deal. I'm going to go and stand in Gibraltar with a flag and be like,
it's ours.
You can't have it. Sorry. No, not this time.
Like tree hugging, but Gibraltar hugging.
Like, no. My arms are big enough for Gibraltar.
One of the things on the fiscal rules is
we'll have to pay for that as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, we get paid to give it away. It's just the way they do things.
Stop it. Stop it, Starmer. Come on. What's wrong with you people? Jeez.
One of the things that Mel Stride said, and I didn't really make most of his speech because we had to come and film for you guys.
Yes.
But he did say that if she'd kept to the fiscal rules, which before the election she promised she wouldn't change, which were our fiscal rules, she promised that she wouldn't change them, which she then did in her first budget. The OBR said that she would have already
broken them. She would have broken the rules, her own rules that she said she wasn't going to break. But Mel Stride, so the shadow chancellor came back, fighting. He was like, he basically just poo-pooed everything she said, and she was like, that's great, but where's the detail? Like, you can say what you like, but actually does it do anything? So I thought he was really strong, and I was kind of impressed. I was like, why do we not see him more often? Because he really he's quite charismatic, and he seems to be very sort of like straight down the line. Like, what are you doing? That doesn't make sense. It should be this and that and the other.
He's on top of his
he's like an old school Tory, but in the best possible way, not in a not in the dodgy few, but in the kind of good ones, where because I thought we were lacking some of these sort of big kind of character Tories a little bit, but he is one of them, and we just need to see more of him. And I think the fact that he called her up on it without hesitation, he was like, no.
My granddad really likes him, if that's any.
Well, your granddad's got great taste. He's got great taste. I
was like, who's that? He did speech back last time. I was like, oh yeah. And he was like, he's fantastic.
He's fantastic. But no, he is. He's quite. I didn't expect it, to be honest. Like, I've seen him, whatever.
He was very good at DWP because he was all on like work and pensions. But he's good in this role.
He is. So love that.
We're moving on. We're getting a friend.
We do, yes. So we are lucky enough to be joined by none other than Peter Barnes. He's back. So take a look. So we are with Peter Barnes, and we are talking all things spending review. Rachel Reeves has done it again. She knows how to spend that money. What do we think of all of her input today?
Oh my God. Do you know what we used to joke around about a magic money tree? She's found a forest or a rainforest at this point. I mean, it's bigger than the Amazon. The amount of money that she's allocated, because it's important to remember these are numbers that were already in place. It's about putting the pencil into pen, basically. That's what the spending review is. And it's to see who wins and who loses. It's basically who's in favour and who's not. There's a lot of politics goes into the spending review that it never really gets talked about. But yeah, I have to admit, this is an astonishing amount of money. But what's really interesting is it's very long term. I don't think Rachel Reeves is going to last in the job to the year, let alone this government last one term. A lot of people are going to go, well, it's nice, but it's never going to happen. So which doesn't really add to the economic confidence that we desperately need, because whilst the main focuses have been in infrastructure, they make jobs, they're a big boom for the economy. Defence, obviously, with everything going on. But the most interesting one is social housing and the amount of money that they are throwing at this. But every developer I know, every company that are involved in that is saying, it's never going to happen. You know, the idea of just building 1.5 million homes by the end of this parliament, you would be laughed out of the boardroom, you know, of these big developers. Because you're like, it's never going to happen. So, you know, she's talking a good game for a woman whose job is on life support, let's be real. You know, and it's just, it's the more interesting thing is the politics, I have to admit, because the money is rather irrelevant, because it's not going to be there, they're not going to be there, and she's definitely not going to be there. So, you know, there were two pointed attacks at Reform and Nigel Farage in the spending review. You know, there was the one about unfunded tax cuts and all the rest of it, which is the pop at the two-child benefit. But there was also about tackling waste, which has been Nigel Farage's Doge, you know, Elon Musk-esque thing, you know. So they're very aware of the threat that the Reform Party posed to them, which is sensible politics, but it feeds into Reform's narrative that they're the real opposition, when in reality, no. I'm a known Reform critic, but it's not real. Move on. You know, I don't really expect Reform to be in the state that they're in at the moment to make it to the 5 years. I think something's going to happen with that lot, but that's a different podcast, I imagine. But, you know, looking at it, you know, there's a lot of investment. I remember in politics, investment means spending. And where's she getting the money? Exactly. Where is she getting this? The big question is, where is she getting it from? Because it's no growth or anemic growth at best, you know, that she has to offer. And more importantly, any growth that we have had has been in spite of the government and not because of it. So if you look at the last quarter, it was actually because of Trump's tariffs that everybody was getting the big ticket items, you know, that they had to buy for all the projects. That's where that boost came from. It had nothing to do with Rachel Reeves, nothing to do with the government. And yet they're running around saying, oh, we're wonderful. And every economist or anybody who understands basic accountancy goes, no, you're an idiot. But, you know, it is really this sense of, where is she getting the money, but also how is she getting any of this done? You know, it just seems she made this point about dumping things on local councils. I was like, you've just done the same thing, but you've given them no extra money. Local government is the dumpster fire of British politics. It is just chaos. It is run by people who I do think have the best intentions, but my God, they've been given nothing, absolutely nothing in this, you know. But and again, they want to. This asylum seeker hotel. That's the other big one in this. Again, where are these people going? You know, it's great to see you're going to end the hotel, but where are you putting nearly what's going to be about 40,000 people? Oh, I know. You're going to put them in the social housing system that you just said is already overstretched and overburdened. So what are you doing here? Like, it is infuriating that yet again, this is under your nose thinking, as I call it. It's like, just get through it. Just get through it. With the idea that they're talking a long game on some stuff, but the immediate problems we face, they have no answers to it. But I have to admit, this is something of nothing of a spending review in terms of its financial aspect, because the numbers haven't really changed. I mean, look at this investment for Northern Transport, exact same numbers the Conservative Party had when they were in power. It's the exact same numbers. I mean, you could have at least moved a penny around or something to make it look a little different. You know, it's like when you copy your friend's homework at school. Don't copy it word for word. Teachers aren't stupid. And like, you know, the public aren't stupid either. They can see what you're doing, and they treat. This is the thing with politicians, and I know the Tories have a tendency to do it, but not as badly. But the public aren't idiots. Stop treating them like they're idiots. You know, they might make a dodgy decision every now and then, or you know, go off on a tangent. But 9 times out of 10, the British public can see a trick when it's coming. And the Labour Party haven't learned that yet. But this just seems to be, where's she getting the money? How's she doing it? And my God, with this woman's job, how she stayed in power this long. It's only convention more than anything, because the worst thing you can do as Prime Minister is fire the person you think should run the economy, the most important thing. And you think, oh, well, she got that wrong. Makes you look terrible. But, I mean, Keir Starmer can't get any worse, can he? He can't. Can he? Can he get worse?
I mean,
I don't know. But
it's still early.
I don't like to think of that. It's still early days. But
She's
I
a
have to
human
admit,
shield for him at the moment, really.
Yeah.
That point, that is a bang on point. He has turned every cabinet secretary into a shield. If you noticed, it's Rachel Reeves' economy, it's Angela Rayner's housing project. It's not the government, it's not the Labour parties, it's not Keir Starmer's, it's theirs. That is not an accident. I've long believed this, that Keir Starmer, as a politician, we all thought he was useless. As a Westminster operative, my God, he's unstoppable. Because he's made himself the only Labour leader electable because of the failures of his own government have been held on other people, and Angela Rayner as Prime Minister. No, I'm moving. I'm gone. Sorry, I'm going to do some capital fly to get out of here. But,
who would you prefer, Angela Rayner or Nigel Farage?
Oh God, it's like choosing a method of execution, isn't it? The end result is still the same. I'd go for Raj, because at least he has a financial background, at least the commodities trade. So at least he has a vague idea what he's talking about.
Business
my God, neither of those two. Yeah. I actually think he would be a really good trade and business secretary, or involved in that. And I always thought Theresa May should have brought him in as a kind of post-Brexit trade envoy person that we send around the world. One, so we don't have to deal with him. But then, he could actually do something like that, because he'd be really good at that. You know what I mean? But I don't know how long he's going to survive as leader of reform. I mean, how many catastrophes can one man be involved in but not to be a part of? My God, watching these people fall over that man is embarrassing.
Well,
there are some people doing it. Oh, my God. Yeah.
The tweets, oh my God.
Well, I know the tweets. Okay, do you know what they always say that hypocrisy is the biggest killer in British politics? The biggest killer now is tweets. There's always a tweet. There's always something you've said as an offhand comment, or as 3 a.m. after too many bottles of Chardonnay. That's it. Your career is done. Your career is done. But I have to admit, this is the interesting thing will be when we see the Conservative response to this, because the PMQs before it, Kemi made a bit of a blunder where she said, I'm getting better every week.
Yeah.
I know the point she was trying to make, but don't acknowledge that you've not been very good.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be a show of strength, performance. Saying that you weren't good, not the best idea. But
she's kind of owning it. At least.
Yeah. I think this is what she's going down. She's not going down it's been wonderful, it's been amazing, because you look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But maybe don't go that far, not on today, where today is supposed to be I'm better than you. That's what today is.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a kind of my dad's bigger than your dad. And I think she missed it a little bit. But I do have to admit, I think she's getting better at PMQs. Yeah, she's becoming her own again. This is Kemi of old.
This is the Kemi we know. Kemi,
This is the Kemi that the people voted for and wanted. I couldn't agree more. So I have to admit, I didn't vote for either Kemi or Robert. I had my problems with both of them, but I have to admit, Kemi, I look at Kemi, she ruined Robert Jenrick in that last debate. Absolutely floored him. Yeah. And yet, where's that Kemi gone? Yeah. The minute she got leader of the opposition as a title, I don't know whether it was her confidence went or her team changed or what, but she lost that I'm Kemi, you can all do one. That kind of thing. And that's what you needed in front of Keir Starmer, who's, a straight up, he looks like he's got a broom up his, a place he shouldn't have it. But it's staggering to me, really, that the Conservatives are in the situation that they're in. But too many people keep saying, they need to be more forceful, they need to do this. They can't, because all you would say is, well, you caused this. That would be the automatic response. So actually, I think Kemi's played it right and Robert Jenrick's done it wrong, because he's making all this noise. It's making no impact apart from in the media, because it's feeding the kind of Tories in, disarray. But Kemi's holding firm on the bits that matter, which is the economy, which is why Mel Stryeth's response to it is absolutely imperative, that it is bang on, that the money's right, that every decimal point is accounted for. because the Conservatives will get back into power, not on immigration, but on the economy.
Yeah.
The old words of Bill Clinton, it's the economy, stupid. That is what that is where everybody is missing this. It's not immigration, it's not housing, it's the economy. It's can you make sure that the mess that we're in now can one be fixed and people can kind of remember the good days. That's what's most important. And I think that Kemi's, which I think she's caught on to that by not playing the reform game of, to shout really loud and hope something sticks. I think she's right, and I think it's what our politics needs. I get told I'm entirely wrong by pretty much everybody I know, but I've been told that most of my life I end up being right at the end of the day. But
why don't we go through some of what the spending review actually, what held gravitas? So I think the big winners, if you will, if it ever happens, was defence and the NHS, and also transport all over the place, which was a bit weird. But it's good.
But to be honest, we have had. Yeah, it's the connectivity issue, because with the connectivity issue, you drive the economic stuff. That should have been number one about 30 years ago. Our connectivity in terms of not just transport, but also internet connectivity. I noticed that wasn't really mentioned very much. But if you go into some bits of the country, you can't get a phone signal. You can't get an internet signal. Even some bits I'm here in London, like, it's useless. It's pointless. So things like that are the major detractors to economic growth, which is where I liked it when Rishi Sunak was Chancellor. He went after things like that. He was really targeted. Instead of the big shiny thing, which is Rachel Reeves' way, actually nuts and bolts is actually how you get real growth, because you're shoring up the foundations so you can build the big projects. Throwing money at the NHS is just nothing more than, look at us, we're Labour, aren't we wonderful? Because it's not the reforms we need. It's not the root and branch tearing up of things that needs to happen. It's also to keep the trade unions happy, because let's not forget we've got doctor strikes on the verge of get another round of doctor strikes. But that's a politics thing. Real reform to the NHS, I kind of hope might have come with Keir Starmer, because he scrapped NHS England, but all he did was just move people around. He just got rid of a Quango by the name. He didn't really get rid of the Quango. But I had real hopes with that, and then I realised, it's Keir Starmer and West Streeting. I was being silly. But
so, for example, with science and tech, it was a 22 billion, which you can't help but always think of, that black hole number. Well, it's just amazing. It's amazing how it matches. So that kind of triggered in my head when that was the figure pulled for that. And there's so much money has been spent in so many different things, like 29 billion for NHS. How? I would really like to know. Is there any detail?
Somebody has to tell me, where is that money going? What's it being spent on? And can we see some receipts, please? Because 29 billion is a lot of money.
It is.
Like, in the policy world, we have what's known as the problem of big numbers. So people can't put into concept how much 29 billion is. It's why you measure things at football fields, for example, because people know how big a football field is, and that's you can give it a guide. The problem of these kind of announcements is big number, good. Big number, not always good. No. I think that's what the Conservatives could really do, is say, well, wait a minute, tell us where, tell us what it's going on, give us the detail, because lack of detail kills politicians.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, West Streeting, he made a big deal before he came into power about how the NHS shouldn't have a penny more before it gets reformed, and they seem to have completely thrown that out the window and just don't seem to talk about that anymore.
They've got short memories.
Oh yeah, that's really true. I completely forgot about that. I could say even I forgot about that, but it's West Streeting. I don't really listen when he talks. I make it a rule not to.
So you said this was about like the politics, right? This wasn't really about where this money's going to go, because you don't think anyone will be there by that point, which is fair, because like we always say, why do they give themselves 10 years when no one else has?
Presumptuous.
Very presumptuous. But what are the politics of this, do you think? Like, who is in favour? Who's in? Who's out? What are your thoughts?
Oh, interestingly, out. Bridget Phillipson and universities, the fact that sector has been crying for money for a very long time. The reality is there's no votes in giving universities money. That's what this is. Housing, Angela, this is to keep Angela Rayner happy, because let's not forget those rumours that she was going to quit multiple times in Lord Ashcroft's new book. He basically says she's going to walk out the door at any minute. Because also she's teamed up with Ed Miliband, who is also under threat. So the nuclear thing might be a throw to him, but it also might be look, there's no wind stuff, there's no solar stuff, which has been his big thing. That's an interesting one to keep our eyes on. Defence, obviously, that's just going to be a clear winner in this environment. But again, it's the projects that is going in. Are we really giving the military enough money? Because let's not forget, some of the money for that out of defence spending is going to the Chagos Islands deal. There's a lot of detail that we really have to dig into, and I suppose that'll be the rest of my week. So thank you for that. But no, it is interesting. But I will say Richard Phillipson, because I see her as a potential leadership threat to Keir Starmer, because she's a relatively unknown. I know, trust me, the woman makes Stalin shiver. But
Literally.
I do think that she's got ambitions, because she's quite an effective operator in Westminster. She's quite well respected by the press. She's this VAT on tax schools thing. She's handling that pretty well, despite the chaos. 11,000 kids are now going into the state school sector on an already stretched budget, which didn't get that much money, by the way. Schools were a big loser, really, for what a lot of us were expecting. But she's handled that negative press stuff rather well. Don't get me wrong, there's a dumpster fire somewhere else that the press can concentrate on, but she's handling that pretty well. So it's interesting that she's kind of out of favour. Very little for culture. Lisa Nandy, she's out. She's an irrelevancy now. Yeah, she's gone. But yeah, I have to admit, it is really the net zero kind of snub to Ed Miliband, because he's rumoured to be on the chopping block. There is always in the background this rumour of a big, what they call a big dog reshuffle. So it's not just a little cabinet minister, but it's the big dogs. It's Yvette Cooper. It's Angela Rayner. It's moving the people that people know that are still rumoured to be in the background. A lot of us thought it would come after the council election catastrophe for the Labour Party, but they seem to have rode that out pretty fine, realistically. They thought it was going to be a catastrophe. It was a catastrophe, so everyone went, okay, all the stories out of that. But maybe now we might get reshuffled, because budgets have been set now. That's the thing with this. Right. You've got this amount of money. We've got pencil to pen, so you might get new people and new jobs. That's a possibility, maybe at the end of July. Or maybe it's like school comes back, as I always call it. Like when Parliament sits again, you might get. It's always first day back at school, isn't it? I can't remember how to write, but but it's always that. It's always that kind of thing. But maybe then we'll get it, because Morgan McSweeney, the chief of staff, he's an operator. He knows. Yeah, puppet master. He's very good. I was talking to a journalist recently, and he said, "We're not living through Starmerism. We're living through McSweeneyism."
Wow.
Because he's the one behind all of this. He's the one that got the kind of he's the one that's telling Keir Starmer where to go. Keir Starmer's not running this show. Yeah. Not really. It's his kind of idea, but Sweeney's pushing it into practice. So it is interesting to keep our eyes on what's happening inside number 10, because we thought the Boris Johnson years were chaos at number 10. Nothing. That's nothing compared to what's going on between the revolving door over there, because nobody noticed. But a couple of months ago, the director of comms just walked out. Yeah. Just walked out. That would normally be a big story. Yeah. Nobody noticed. Nobody was paying attention. And I think what's happening in terms of the internal bits of the Labour Party, we're about to see in quite a big way, to be honest, because like I said, got those big votes, big rebellions expected. Yes, we could get some actual criticism, not just, oh, isn't he terrible? Yes, we know, but tell me why so. But this is the key point for the Conservatives. Now is the time to strike. You've taken a year out. You've done your punishment. You've been quiet. Come back with a bang. It starts today. It starts with this spending review. It starts with using this as the platform for economic competency. We are the leaders. Yes, we made a mistake. Acknowledge that. But then say how you're going to fix it. My thing is not saying sorry. It's atoning. It's how do you make the situation better? And that's what the Tories have got to do. And they've got to do it from basically today. Reform aren't going anywhere. Not really. Because the Reform vote's gone. But there's a lot of voters who didn't vote for the Conservatives, but are Tory voters. Yeah. They want the Tory party back. Give it them back, and they will come back. Tory voters don't switch. Not really. Yeah. They stay at home. And that's what we saw in the last general election. That's why turnout was so low. The Tories just stayed at home. Give them a reason to come out. Kevin's got to give them a reason. And it's economic competency. It's putting money in the right places. And it is, most importantly, the sense of fairness. Yeah. Fairness is what is why is it asylum seeker getting everything? A person born here paid into the system getting nothing. Yeah. Kemi plays on that and answers that question. As she provides a solution, she'll walk into number 10 at the next general election. That's where it is right now. It's not really these big moments or anything, but it's the little things that you've got to fix, and Kevin's got to put forward that plan.
Yeah.
But that's what I take from today. But like we said,
thank
the
you.
day is a long time in politics. So, but yeah, not a problem.
It was amazing. It was so good to speak to you again.
So good.
Can we get you back for the next
Yeah,
one?
you too. By all means, any big event, you got my number.
Amazing.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, that was super insightful. Thanks so much, Peter. And yeah, that's so interesting.
What's the takeaway?
I mean, honestly, well, the takeaway is the devil's in the detail.
Yes.
And Rachel Reeves is lacking that detail.
Yes.
And she's really good at spending other people's money.
Really great. Well, that's what socialists do.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's the aim of the game, but I don't think it should be.
I don't think it should be, but I think that's what she's here to do. Spend,
Okay.
spend, spend.
Spend, spend, spend. Mondays, middays, mod cons. See you then. It's free.
Bye, guys.